minutes before I've got to go for work. But I needed to get this off my chest, and I've got Cactus Bill to thank. So this is a big shout out to Cactus Bill. I was watching her live from the other night, and she asked the question. And you know where you've been thinking about things and you're puzzled about things, and then somebody says something, and suddenly the light bulb goes off in your head. I had a light bulb moment, and this is where I think Netflix has gone wrong, and 7M and 7M has a really good chance against Katie. I need to preface to say I'm a law student. I don't specialize in defamation. I have an interest in defamation. I have done defamation law as part of my legal studies, and I follow defamation cases. So Minnesota also has a criminal aspect of a criminal statute of, hello Mama Kay, of defamation as well, which is really interesting because it's a defamation matter. It's anything which exposes a group or person, class, association to hatred, ridicule, degradation, disgrace in society, or injury to business or occupation. Now, it could be argued that, so this is the criminal statute here. It could be argued that there could be, I mean, if we want to talk about criminal charges, what's gone on in the last 24 hours, in my opinion, could fall under that. Hello, Llama Girl. So I'm going to be live later today, my time, but I'm just getting ready for work. And I had to, I dreamed about this last night. And Cactus Bill, you are a legend because you said something last night, in your live the other night, and he was watching it. I was watching it while I was going to sleep, and my mind has been thinking all night. Here is the thing. Cactus Bill asked a question involving, hello Llama Girl, hello Mama Kay, involving Priscilla and Melanie. That they had come as teenagers, and I hope my mics work too, by the way. I reconfigured everything. They had come as teenagers to America and was taken in by Shin at the church. This was before 7M existed. So how is 7M a cult and did all these bad things to them if it didn't exist? And remember, it came out of a desire for the dancers who had a conversation with Shin. This is the part that I think is going to get her. Now, I couldn't work out why the church wasn't party to the lawsuit against Katie Joy. And it has now hit me why. It's now hit me why. All of the allegations about the waterboarding, the trafficking, the conduct, the tithing, all involves the church. It does not involve 7M. Therefore, let's look at the definition. Let's have a look at the definition, and we're going to go to Minnesota. Like, we're going to look at what the law says in Minnesota, because sorry, but this is from the US, the Legal Information Institute, which we as uni students use a lot particularly when we're going for US law. So here it is. To prove defamation, you must show 4 things: a false statement purporting to be fact, the publication or communication of that statement to a third person, amounting to at least negligence and damages or some harm caused to the reputation of the person or entity who is subject to that statement. Because here's the other thing, neither Priscilla nor Melody were part of 7M because it didn't exist at the time. So their story relates to the church. If Netflix had said the Shekinah Church cult, they would be, in my opinion, would be fine. But because they're focused on the 7M cult and everything. Now, Shin is the common denominator here, okay? I agree. But the alleged bomb that were to us by Katie as to the waterboarding was a woman talking. The woman wasn't identified. She was talking about baptism, and we're assuming that it occurred in the church. That did not occur as part of 7M. You see? By interchanging them, they've actually given 7M a home run. And by them saying the 7M cult, without actually proving that the management company, there's no proof that the management company, and at the time that Cactus Bill asked this question, she was watching Katie's video. So Katie's actually done, just showed that Katie's done some more damage here. Because they talk about Melanie and Priscilla, and they didn't want it to be all fine. But they have really muddied the waters. And this is why I think 7M would actually have a defamation case. Because, okay, let's just say Shekinah's a cult, right? Let's just say Shekinah's a cult. And we say, well, we're pretty certain Shekinah's a cult. By saying that 7M has done all of these things that a cult does, or is a cult, technically is defamatory because it's false. It's a false statement purporting to be true. It's been published or communicated to a third person. Now, then we get into malicious. Is it malicious? Could possibly, because we think the Wilkins have had a bit of a. We know the Wilkins have got a vendetta against Shin or 7M or the church. They've at least got it against the church. So by going after 7M's income earning potential, they have actually then done tortious interference. You see, there have been people trying to be clever here. They've actually failed. So as I said, I know that in one of my last lives, I couldn't work out why the church hadn't been a party to it. And I said, oh, Katie could actually have a way of winning. But it was, as I said, it was the question from Cactus Bill in her last live where she said, what I don't understand is that 7M didn't exist when Priscilla and Melanie got into the cult, the alleged cult. And as I said, the light bulb went off. And I said, because it didn't. And it's the church that's the cult, not the management company. And there is your proof of defamation. So I went. They have had huge financial losses, Michelle. And that's the thing, because they've been going. Everyone's been going after the management company. But, and in fairness, it was likely to be the church. Now, the other thing is, even in the other lawsuit that we looked at the other day, oh no, Katie Joy sharing, people say, oh, this is a cult. And I believe they are talking about the church, not the management company. So, as I said, the whole title of the 7M TikTok cult is also misleading and deceptive because it's actually the church. That could be you could argue is the cult. And we know that cults are illegal. But again, it depends on the religion. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses, people say is a cult. And the other thing is, I still haven't seen it, and I do know that someone is going to watch it for me. Someone's going to watch it for me over the weekend, which is why I'm doing the live on Sunday afternoon my time. I have to give the person time. and then they're going to come on panel, and we're going to do an open panel, and it can be discussed. But that is why I think Netflix could be in trouble here. So I want to have, but yeah, I need to give Cactus Bill all the credit for this, for the light bulb. Maybe 2 Aussies have just solved the case, eh? She gave me the final piece. She gave me that final puzzle piece, and I've gone bingo. So, what are your thoughts? What do you think about that? Correct. It's very interesting, isn't it? You watched one part last night with Nikki? Cool. So tonight I'm going to go through all the posts, because there's manic postings. Now the other thing is it's a 2-year. The other thing is it's a 2-year statute. It's true, Llama Girl. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. And as I said, it was that final piece. I could not work out, which means it was very, very clever. It was very, very clever. So, because because when I know why they've been pushing for discovery, because they want to show that all the information or all the allegations are relating to the church and not 7M, the management company, that they are 2 separate entities. No, I didn't. Her changed bio. No, I haven't. What's the changed bio, Llama Girl? YouTube, or is it Instagram? There was so many, I would go and I'd do a job. Yesterday I was working. Yesterday was podcast day. And I would finish a podcast. I'd come in from having finished the podcast. No way. And I would have like 50 or 60, like my ex or my Twitter was going berserk. So it says, Katie Joy Paulson, always investigating and seeking truth behind every story. Archival consultant for Netflix, Dancing for the Devil, the 7M TikTok call. Look at this. Apparently, it was #1 on Netflix after 1 day of streaming. Apparently. Robert sued all 3 of us. So, and then she says this one, for example, a management company and a church in question. Now, even the sermons, the alleged sermons that they talk about what he has said, occurred in the church. It says here, Robert said one of Robert's neighbours said his car, along with several church members, was seen at the White House on church property today. Everything is relating to the church, not the management company. Why on earth is she doing it? So we're going to go through all of these tonight. I bet you her reels are to die for. I have seen some of your stuff, Llama Girl. And see, look. Robert Shin's voice heard for the first time demanding dancers sign an NDA during a church service. Right? Former members Kylie Cochrane discussed Robert Shin panicking after Miranda Wilkins' parents went live exposing the alleged cult. In audio obtained by Netflix, Robert Shin is heard demanding members sign NDAs. Not everybody signed the NDAs. Well, how were they able to exist then if they didn't sign the NDA? You see, that's not cult-like behavior. Cult-like behavior is you sign the NDA or else. So tonight I'm going to go live. We're going to watch her video. I'm going to use Llama Girl's edition because I like the commentary with Llama Girl's commentary. We're going to go through all the posts, and that's going to give me a little bit more time to delve into this. I've sort of like got up, said, I'm going to go live, I'm going to tell everybody my theory or my hypothesis. Because now everything makes sense. And that's why, as I said, I think Netflix has put themselves into a very precarious situation now. Well, she does make an, yeah, I believe she does, yes. So they've got 2 years, by the way, defamation law. So and the thing is, even if that statute came out, she's still going hard. So I think, so let me just tell you what. So the legal definition or the legal threshold for defamation, okay, for defamation, and this is the same threshold in Australia as well, is you have to show 4 things. You have to show that a false statement purporting to be fact, a publication or communication of that statement to a third person, fault amounting to at least negligence, and damage or some harm to the reputation. Okay, so there are differences. There are differences because she's trying to. Most states assume the speaker who defames another necessarily has the requisite guilt state of mind. Now, for public officials, for example, like I don't know how you can say a church is a public figure, which they're trying to say actual malice. So for me, the actual malice will be the Wilkins. And another thing that Cactus Bill talked about, and I'll tell you what, she was on fire that night, was she talked about KJ not talking to her or cutting her parents off because they were toxic. And yet here she is going after Miranda for not talking to her parents, who by her own statement she has stated are toxic. Why is it that Katie can't talk about can't contact her parents, but Miranda has to? Maybe we need to all tell Katie Joy to contact her parents because they miss her. Katie Joy, please contact your mum. They miss you. They love you. They want you in their life. What would the difference be? Could you imagine if that happened? What the carry on that would happen? So I'm going to link Cactus Bill's live in here because, as I said, I have she was on fire, and as I said, I was going to sleep last night, and as I was going to sleep, I was hearing all these things, and I went, bingo, 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 bingo. You've been saying the same, Michelle? Yeah. This is the issue that I have. Says her mum has dementia and has nothing to do with her. Of course, she's got dementia. She forgets things. Michelle, yes, says work on her own. She should work on her own family's problems, not her own. Now, for Katie's defense, okay, because, and again, she hasn't been deemed to be media, but it could be in Australia, there is a public interest defense for defamation now, that if it is a concern that is of the public interest, I'm sorry, I haven't done my hair yet. If it is a concern of the public interest and it's important that the public knows about it, that can be a defense for defamation. It's a new law in Australia. It's a new law that's come out at sort of, because there's no real media privilege, it's qualified privilege usually, but it's a new law that's come out, and so and it's been successful. So so this is from a law firm in Minnesota, because sometimes law firms really break it down. So let me just break down the Minnesota. It says To establish a defamation claim in Minnesota, a plaintiff must establish the 3 following elements. The defamatory statement is communicated to someone other than the plaintiff. All right. The statement is false, and the statement tends to harm the plaintiff's reputation and lower the plaintiff in the estimation of the community. So, is the defamatory statement about 7M communicated to someone other than a plaintiff? Tick. Is the statement false? Well, saying 7M is a cult, in my opinion, is a false statement because it's the church that would be, I would allege, you could put that status on. So it's false. And the statement tends to harm the plaintiff's reputation, and I would say that's a tick. And it says no, actually, where the defamation involves a claimant's business, trade, or profession, no actual damages need to be shown because damages are presumed. The concept applies in some other cases. Defamation defenses. Public figures are treated differently in the context of defamation because they are believed to enjoy unique benefit of public life and having a public forum in which to respond to false statements averages. And the other thing is, right, and this is why I also think you could argue that it's not a public statement. They've not said anything other than in court documents. They issued one statement. So statute of limitations and actual damages for the publication of a libel by newspaper cannot recover more than special damage. Minnesota law have defined general damages as a natural, necessary, and usual result of the wrongful act. These damages include the more difficult to quantify damages for injury to reputation and might include mental anguish, emotional distress, loss of enjoyment, and anxiety. An individual who in good faith seeks assistance from or reports apparent unlawful conduct to law enforcement is not liable for civil damages as the result of that, which is interesting. This is just Minnesota, good faith police report. If an individual prevails on civil action from the individual has been granted immunity by this section, the court shall award the individual reasonable attorney costs. This does not exempt individuals from their professional obligations of confidentiality. Although I repeat, the same principles evident. So yeah, anti-SLAPP laws were held unconstitutional. So they do have a criminal defamation law. Whoever with the knowledge of its false and defamatory character orally, in writing, or by other means communicates any false or defamatory matter to a third person without the consent of the person is defamed is guilty of criminal defamation and may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 1 year or payment of a fine of not more than $3,000 or both. So here's the thing. I'm interested to see whether there could be a criminal, whether they wait until after the civil, because remember, civil is on the balance of probabilities. If they say on the balance of probabilities, 7M was defamed, whether then they would then go to a police report and file a police report and get a charge for criminal defamation. But that's a higher standard because it has to be beyond reasonable doubt. And I know she keeps going on and on and on about all these charges, and I know that she's told everybody to report Shin to the LA thing about, for doing it. You've got to remember, you have to remember though, that in a civil case, it's only beyond on the balance of probabilities. There has to be a balance. It has to be beyond reasonable doubt. A lot of criminal cases don't succeed because there is some doubt there. So that's why civil cases often succeed more than criminal cases, because of the fact that it has a different standard of proof. So, for example, if I use the Australian example of the Bruce Lerman, he had his criminal case thrown out for jury misconduct, but in a civil matter, it was deemed that on the balance of probability, he most likely somebody. Yet, criminally, he couldn't get that standard. I have to go in a minute, but yeah, as I said, I just wanted to tell you what I found, and you know. Correct. Okay, the other issue that they've got is that in California there's a statute of limitation on sexual assault. So there's been a few changes to California. Up until 2019, you had 3 years from the date of attack. In 2020, they changed the rule to be 10 years. So if these alleged crimes occurred, oh, here we go. So there are certain crimes, sex crimes in California. So remember, we're talking about LA, have statute of limitations according to severity of the crimes. So felony sex crimes in California come under one of 3 statutes of limitations, with a 10-year statute of limitations against minor victims are prosecutable until the victim's 40th birthday, and sex crimes for statutes of limitations removed. And so they're telling you here what the 10-year. So, for example, if R was committed before 2017, it's for 10-year statute of limitation. So it is quite possible, for example, for Melanie and Priscilla, that they've actually exceeded the statute of limitation now, that even if it happened. So remember, you've got to go off the law of the state. You can't go off your state law. My state law is that there is no statute of limitation. Minnesota, I checked, has no statute of limitations for those crimes. But California does. And so you have to bear that in mind. When did that crime occur? So her saying go after and report it to the police. If they've investigated it and ended it, you can't go back. So just another thing to look at it. And I know she likes to quote Rain all the time. So let's have a look what Rain has to say. They've actually listed the statute of limitations by state. And you know what? Because I'm a very nice person, I will give you. That's Harrison. Hold on. Tells me I should be moving. Okay, so there's Rain. So this is going to tell you what the statute of limitation is for each state. So has the state limit set for all? No. Statute, if a victim chooses not to report, no. A victim's choice to report does not affect the statute of limitations. So here we go. And then it talks about that. So this tells you that there is a statute of limitations. So if we're talking about something that happened over 10 years ago, he can't be charged. All right. And I thought, remember, she says, let's quote Katie Joy here, always investigating and seeking the truth behind every story. Well, why hasn't she talked about the statute of limitation in California? Boom! So I know your head is probably spinning with lots of information. I now have to try and work with my head spinning with all this information. Cactus Bill, you have created a monster. No, you have just put that final puzzle piece in there. So look, I'm going to be back later tonight, my time. So it is 7:13 a.m. This is how much I had to do it. At 7:13 a.m. I'll be back in 12 hours, about 7 p.m. my time. So please, please, please join me, and we want to look at this better. In more detail. I will try and get a little bit more research done. I might see if I can find these legal documents and find out when these crimes have committed. But remember, 7M, despite the title of it being the 7M TikTok cult, the majority of the allegations have occurred regarding the church. The church is what should have been deemed the cult and not the management company, and that is why I think 7M can sue Netflix and they will win against Katie Joy, for simply they have referred to the wrong thing as being a cult. And not only that, the allegations that I have heard about Robert Shin have all occurred in the church and as part of the church and not the management company. And the management company was dancer-led. It was formed due to the push of the dancers. That is not what a cult does. Okay? Anyway, I hope you all have a great day, night, evening, whatever it is. I will catch you again later. Please let everybody know to watch later tonight. Let everyone watch this. I hope you've had that light bulb moment, and I hope it will make sense. As I said, I'm going to put Cactus Bill's down below, because as I said, that was the video that's the video that got me, that triggered the light bulb. So in the meantime, you've got 12 hours to mull over and see what you think if I'm onto something. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Remember, I'm just a law student. I mean, I know I'm not the legal expert Katie Joy is. I know that. I can't surpass her in legal knowledge. I'm just a law student, measly law student. So I'll catch you all again next time, and I'll see you all about in 12